Hello.
Hey.
We're back.
Hey.
It is Friday.
The 28th?
27th, I think. Yeah, 27th.
I don't know.
Friday, May 27th, 2022. And we're back. How about that, guys?
Yeah. No, we're back. We are starting a cult that's random Jake Mish is in the room.
It's true. To me, it feels like it's been a long week.
Yeah.
It's
a lot
like
of
weird
stuff.
It feels like we somehow missed an episode, but we didn't. We did one last week. What did we
Time's just dragging.
What did we talk about last week?
This is an excellent question. The news.
Oh!
That's what it was. Thanks, Mitch.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I was like, what did we talk about?
The news.
Well, we're going back to the roots of the show, I guess you could say, or at least the roots of the title of the show.
Yeah, the topic appears in our title.
And we're doing a fan-requested episode on the Blackburn cult. How about that?
Hey, Shawnee.
Today we're going to take a little journey back in time, about 100 years or so.
A little bit, yeah.
Possibly even earlier, just to get some deets. But we're gonna go about 100 years back, and we're gonna have some conversations about these crazy fucking weird religious psychos, pretty much. Just at the top of the episode, I'm sure we'll get to it at a certain point. I feel it's weird that you have to say this, but we cover a lot of death and murder.
Yeah.
But we don't often cover things that encompass animals, There will be something about that, so if that's not your cup of tea, just be ready. Just be ready.
Yeah.
We'll get to it, though. Just be warned ahead of time. There's going to be some dead animals, all right?
It's so weird that people have to be warned about that, but not and then he was tortured for months on end.
Yeah, it is.
Broke his legs going out the window. It's oh my God.
If you want a little precursor, I'm not going to spill any of the beans. I wouldn't let my dog listen to this episode. All right.
Okay. It's not going to be that bad.
Yeah, it's not.
It's just, all right.
It's really not. Right. But it's just funny to kind of throw that out there. And
yeah.
See, I want to know where your mind takes you when I say that.
Well, look at the statistics on this episode and see where people stopped.
Yeah, they're
listening.
I stopped at exactly 3 minutes because they said they wouldn't let their dogs listen to this episode. But yeah, people are kind of different about that. But anyways, there's some fun names. There's some fun characters. There's a guy with a weird mustache.
It's fun.
It's going to be a good episode.
There's a ton of stuff.
So get ready to strap in and have a good time.
It's true. The Blackburn cult. Okay, officially the Divine Order of the Royal Arms of the Great 11.
Now you
which
know why.
Is an insanely long title.
Isn't it? I mean, okay, now this might just be the inner, nerd in me. Is it funny that we're doing this episode today when this is the day that the new season of Stranger Things comes out? Are there any Stranger Things fans out there?
Are there Stranger Things than this?
No, the Order of 11.
Oh, my God.
That's the main character in that show.
Oh, my God, you're
Her
right.
name's 11.
We could probably fit Divine Order and Royal Arms in there somewhere, too. But 11 is...
I'm starting to think that's just a nerd thing that I thought of, okay?
I think you're just really excited to watch a show.
I am. That show it's a lot better than I ever gave it credit for.
It's
dude. Interesting.
When I first got you into it, you're like, nah, it's not really my thing. And then you watched all fucking seasons within a week.
I'll be honest. See, I thought it was because when there's teens involved, it's I kind of thought it'd be a lot more soap opera-y and dramatic and stuff, but it's pretty good. It's got some scary movies elements to it as well as suspense. It's like
good. A more frightening teenage Goonies.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's Goonies older version, Yeah. It's a good ride. It's a good show for sure.
Yeah.
But anyways,
11,
the Blackburn cult, because I'm
Blackburn
not
cult,
that fucking name.
They didn't call themselves the Blackburn cult, but they call themselves the Divine Order of the Royal Arms of the Great 11. I feel like "of the" should not appear in your titles ever.
Yeah, the said
it shouldn't appear more than once.
Yeah.
Or simply the Great 11. All right, so they shortened it at some point. It was a cult that popped up around the beginning of the 20th century, and the cult mainly surrounded biblical ideas, so their leaders said. But let's just leave the intro to the fact that at some point there's going to be a body.
Oh, yeah.
And there's going to be some spices. And man's best friend is intermingled in there somewhere.
Oh, yeah. I just love... one of the things that really sucked me in more... Because like, at first, it's always hard to get into something you're not familiar with. You know, like...
I was learning about this as I was writing the script.
No,
I was like, I've never heard of this.
I spent many a time this week on break at work just reading about this in the back. And, it really brought me in more than anything... were the names. Like, the names of
There's
people.
some great names in this story.
They're just perfect names that seem almost fictional.
Like, if this was a TV show, which it isn't, it's real life, I would watch it solely based on the names alone.
Exactly. Like, that's what really, like, got my attention. I was like, all right, so what did this guy fucking do? Like, this, it's wild. Like, you'll see.
It's great.
I love it.
Probably an appropriate place to start will be with the cult's founder and leader. All right, May Blackburn.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now I couldn't find like a crazy amount of detail on her like really early life, but
there's not a whole lot.
But May Otis Blackburn, she was born on August 2nd of 1881 in Storm Lake, Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Even the name of the town, it's cool.
And if you're a fan of government names, it's Matilda.
Fuck
Even
that.
funnier.
No, it's May.
No, I know. I'm not going to
forever
call
be May.
if you're a government name type of person, some people are, some people aren't.
Yeah, you motherfuckers were calling me Jacob earlier. I hated that.
Yeah, it was funny.
That was not good.
I like that.
All right. She lost her father very early in her life, around the age of 4. And it's so, according to her, that's supposedly when she started hearing voices.
Oh.
The age of 4. All right. Oh, and her dad died in some freak train accident that could never be proven, so it was just like a big mystery.
Pretty much,
like
yeah.
He just is gone.
Mm-hmm.
So whether they were intrusive thoughts or auditory illusions, I'm not sure, but she was hearing voices at the age of 4. And these voices seemingly never went away because she, years down the line after they first appeared at the age of 4, she began to interpret them as the voice of God.
Oh,
just telling her to do stuff.
Yeah, she's
she's one of those. As a young lady, though, there were no there are no like photographs of her at the time. It's said that she was like super attractive, and so she had like a long line of suitors at any given moment.
Well, okay, good for her.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's good.
Good for her.
She was very much looking for a man of wealth, though, and eventually married a man by the name of John Wayland.
John Wayland.
At the age of 16. Mitch just looked at me right when I said that because everyone pronounces my name Wayland. But it's not.
I was going with Smithers.
That too. But it's Wayland here.
Wayland
it's just
is
all
Smithers.
it's just phonetically. It sounds so stupid.
A little bit, yeah. A little bit.
At the age of 16, she married John Wayland. The newlywed couple then moved out to South Dakota, where it didn't take long for the relationship to go south. According to Ruth, her husband proved to be a gambling addict who would abuse her if she refused to give him money for his many bets.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't really have that. She left John while pregnant with her first and only child, Ruth Angelina.
Ruth.
She was born on July 25th of 1899.
That's better.
Thanks. Shortly after Ruth was born, May received a letter informing her that John Wayland was shot in a mine over a mine dispute in California.
What a place to get... like, if you're in a mine, the last thing I'm thinking of is getting shot.
You hear a gun go off in a mine, you're going to want to kill yourself by how much your ears hurt.
I cannot even imagine. That would truly be insane.
So yeah, he was in a mine dispute. Let's see. Yeah, mine dispute. He was in California. He's dead. So the letter says. So May did what any widow would do. She dropped Ruth off with her mom and stepdad and went off with another man named Rudolph Schultz.
Nice.
All right, Rudolph. That was in 1900, and the two were married by 1901.
Okay.
So she moves quick. At the ceremony, one of the witnesses just so happened to be a clairvoyant and medium named Lucy Lamb.
LL for short.
Doesn't that sound like a porn star?
Lucy Lamb, baby. Come get some of the lamb chop.
That's the tagline.
Yeah, it is.
Nice. All right, let's see. Many think that May's relationship with Lucy was the beginning of her interest into the paranormal, as well as the use of it to gain power over others and their money. You know, the money's always good. Now, May never told Rudolph about her daughter Ruth. All right, and when Ruth, when Ruth, May's mother and stepdad, moved to the Pacific Northwest, May begged her husband to move there as well. All right.
Okay.
And her excuse was that she wanted to be closer to her mother, Ruth, or her mother and Ruth, who May claimed was her sister. This is kind of like a classic teenage pregnancy thing.
Classic
Situation. Eventually, Rudolph broke down, and the couple moved to Portland, Oregon, to be close to the family.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Wonder what Portland was like back then. Beavers, Mitch says.
Beavers.
Okay. It was 1901.
Oh, yeah, beavers are still hot.
Beavers are still hot.
Give it a good couple, give it like a little bit more than a decade, and she's about to bring a great delivery to Portland, Oregon.
There you
I'll tell
go.
you that.
There you go. At some point around this time, May confesses to Rudolph that Ruth is indeed her child and not her sister, and the three live a somewhat like happy family life. So Rudolph was just like totally chill with that crazy, insane lie.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't until May receives another letter in the mail, this time claiming that John Wayland is alive.
Oh,
He's
no.
still alive. He didn't get shot at all. This was an interesting plot twist considering the fact that May and John had never divorced, which meant that May and Rudolph's marriage was illegitimate. Makes sense, right?
We got problems here now.
Yeah, we got problems. Well, many speculate that this was merely an excuse to break things off with old Rudolph. All right?
Poor Rudy.
Yeah, I know. Well, there was no evidence that Wayland was still alive and that it appeared after this, and May never sought him out after she left.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, May took Ruth and began seeing a man named Fremont Everett.
Everett. That's how you'd say it.
That's probably one of my favorite names in the story.
Oh, see, no, mine's coming later.
Fremont Everett.
That's a good one, too, though. I won't lie.
Okay.
I won't lie.
He was a really rich man, and he was also a really married man. So she's banging this rich boy, and he's like setting her up with all these apartments and properties behind his wife's back. From these apartments and such, May is starting to make a good amount of money. All right. And not too long after gaining these lucrative assets, does she cut things off with Fremont, claiming that she can't be with a married man.
Poor Everett, man.
That's not the Christian thing to do.
Poor Mr. Everett. Not right.
He's got everything. Money, a wife, happiness.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
She took all of those away in one fell swoop.
Yeah, it's all gone. All his properties. So yeah, she would go on to marry and dump more and more men, just like after getting a decent hunk of change from them. That was kind of her MO there.
It could be worse. She could be like killing them,
Or like bobbiting them, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not great, but it could have been a lot worse, I think.
It's not the worst thing that could happen, okay?
Definitely not.
Get over yourself.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, okay.
Everything's fine.
It's been established.
She's just one of those, All right, so still living in Portland, May began attempting to get Ruth to become a star on the super new form of entertainment known as the picture shows.
The moving picture.
The silver screen. So, she was like funding movies, movie shoots, like film productions, all that, with all the money that she was getting from all her past lovers, Though nothing was quite working out how May planned. So Ruth was not a hit on the silver screen, it seems.
No, I'll tell you this. This is kind of what sucked me in initially. It's kind of an interesting little fact if you're a movie buff, all right?
Yeah.
So in 1917, she produced a movie and starred in the movie along with her daughter called A Nugget in the Rough. All right?
Gold.
Yeah, A Nugget in the Rough. And this was actually the first film that came to Portland, Oregon.
Really?
Yeah, this is the first film, and it was a total flop. They hated it.
Wait, that came to Portland, Oregon, or from? Because I remember like reading that like the town, like the community of Portland was really supportive of her as she was doing it.
It was the first, like, as far as I was able to ascertain, it was filmed there in Portland,
Okay,
Oregon.
sick.
I don't know. Yeah, not like the first to like be shown there. I don't know.
Yeah, I was like, really? That's nuts.
Yeah, it took. I don't know if it necessarily took place in Portland, but it was filmed in and around the greater Portland area.
The greater Portland area.
And so within a year after that, they moved to Los Angeles. How about that?
Yeah. So, oh God, I lost my place. Well, no, yeah, she was making movies, all these things. She was going through money. They take what money's left, and they left for Hollywood. All right, where things would still not really work out.
To become a star.
To become a star.
And it kind of goes the same way a lot of people that move out to Hollywood, how that story ends.
Yeah, May is running out of money before too long, and Ruth is, her acting is not getting better. And she started dancing, May did, for money. And a fun detail that was pretty highlighted heavily in the research that I was doing, at least, was that she was particularly a pantless dancer. Bottomless dancer there.
Yes, and even further, this was completely new to me. The title that, or at least, the now title that they give is called a taxi dancer.
Yeah, I heard that too, and I was like, I'm not even. I don't even want to start like adding that to my vernacular.
Yeah,
like if I just start throwing that around, I'm gonna have to explain it every time.
She was a taxi dancer.
Taxi.
And essentially, yeah, it's the same thing as an erotic dancer. She was a bottomless exotic dancer. But the taxi dancers exclusively worked in cars.
Dancing in cars?
See,
back then?
That's the thing.
Is there just like a huge pole like protruding out the top?
I really think it's just a nice way of saying she sucked dicks in cars.
So a prostitute.
Yeah, I mean, I really think that's like the nicest possible way of saying that.
I don't know. I was just thinking, like I said, like just a stripper pole going up through the roof of a car. What about bridges? That's what I was thinking of.
Oh.
But
Yeah,
I guess, yeah, probably just a prostitute, huh?
Don't get me wrong. I could very easily be incorrect on that assumption, but she's not wearing any pants, and she's dancing for people that are in their cars, and she sometimes gets in those cars.
Very enclosed spaces.
Yeah. She's a prostitute, essentially.
So anyway, yeah, they're out of money. she's pantless dancing. Amazing Hollywood dancing sans pants. Fucking quickly running out of money and trying desperately to get her young daughter Ruth, who she for much of her life claimed was her sister, on the big screen. Classic Hollywood tale, right?
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, it's around 1922 at this point. And the City of Angels, and guess who fucking shows up to May and Ruth, Grant?
I know.
Fucking angels.
It's
all right?
Gabriel and Michael.
The archangels.
Yeah.
Just come to visit.
Like
May and Ruth.
Like the two biggest angelic figures in the Bible.
Yeah, and they brought good news, too.
Oh, excellent news. Excellent news.
The angels told these two ladies that they were the witnesses and were going to be enlightened for the next 1,260 days of prophecy.
Oh yeah.
All right, and they were supposed to write this fucking text. They were directed to do this text. It was called the Great Sixth Seal. All right, while isolating themselves and learning the secrets of life, health, and heaven and earth.
All right.
Simple task.
I just want to. This is so. I know this is super nitpicky and annoying. I just
What?
want to know how exactly long 1,622 days is.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's pretty much 4 years and 5 months.
Good amount of time.
Yeah, it's a pretty hefty amount of time.
Oh, that's good.
It's super irrelevant. I just I heard that and I was like, I want to put that into relative time.
It's like a college career with a few extra classes in there. You're
Yeah.
just like, all right, you're enlightened.
Yeah, he took an extra
You
semester.
got it all. Undergrad. That's all you need.
All right.
Yeah. So, the book, they were writing the Great Sixth Seal. So the book was to be called the Sixth Seal, right? Okay. Apparently, the Seventh Seal is basically doomsday, the end of the world,
Yes.
rapture, all that, okay? The sky is going to open up, Jesus is going to come down, angels, and everything, and no one's going to live. Everyone's going to die. Well, Gabriel and Michael told May and Ruth that once the seventh seal opens and the sky, opens and everyone fucking dies, they, along with 9 others, will survive. They'll run the world and they'll live in big fancy houses in Olive Hill, Hollywood.
Yep.
Pretty
Hence the grade
sweet.
11.
Pretty sweet gig. Mm-hmm. So May and Ruth get writing. They want that. What these archangels are telling them. All right, so at this time, if you haven't picked this up, Ruth is like pretty much a grown-up now. All right? Not necessarily a child anymore.
Yeah, she's like in her mid to late 20s-ish, give or take.
She's a young woman. She had even gotten married to a man and left him because, it just wasn't working out. But she couldn't afford to actually divorce him. Mm-hmm. Right? So she was like, I'm leaving, but I can't afford divorce. So what does she do? Well, like mother, like daughter, Grant. Because Ruth, she begins seeing another man named Arthur. All right?
Oh, yeah.
And she gets him to front the money for the divorce and then promptly leaves him as well.
How sad.
It's like, pay for me to get rid of this guy. All right, get out of here. All right, so this occurred about a year into May and Ruth writing their book. And they pretty much completely ran out of money. All right? So they're just absolutely destitute. So what do? They move back to Portland, Oregon to live with May's mom and stepdad, and their stories and teachings, they're just going to, continue to write them down, the sacred enlightened text.
Uh-huh.
All right. So, while in Oregon, the two begin expounding all of their writings and things to everyone who will listen. And while this sort of sounds like it sounds like the type of rant that I'd, be given on any given street corner in the Chicago South Loop. Mm-hmm. But it worked for them. They actually received donations, and they had 12 to 15 followers.
Yeah, and the thing to me, this is what really kind of stuck with me, was that they were getting money with the promise that through these donations you would receive the book, early access to this book with the deleted scenes, essentially.
Yeah, so it's like you could have a better chance of maybe being one of those 11 or something.
Yeah, in the most simplest of terms, where we're at right now, it's sexy Scientology.
Sexy Scientology, that's all you need.
That is what's happening here, okay?
It's pretty interesting.
Had L. Ron Hubbard been a much more conventionally attractive man, he probably could have gotten a lot more money than he did. I mean, he got a lot. But
I think he did
more.
just fine, dude. So some of those Scientology women are crazy for that boy.
Oh yeah, I mean, but he could have had more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know this for certain. I'm not super well versed in the history of Scientology and where they're drawing their influence from, but I would imagine that at least some of that practice was used similar to how the Blackburn cult got its beginnings.
No, I'd say, yeah.
I think it's a fair comparison.
It makes sense. It just does. All right, so now with the help from their followers' belief and their money, May and Ruth are able to move back to California, where things become immediately culty. All right? Just cult up the ass, just immediately. So May names their group the Divine Order of the Royal Arms of the Great 11. Names herself a high priestess, and Ruth gains the title of the Grand Royal of the Water of the Father's Blood.
Yeah.
That's another of the that appears twice. I don't like this. All right, there's even an initiation ceremony that where they all come up and the new members and stuff. They want to initiate them. They're all dressed in purple robes, and then you dance all around, and you're like a whirling dervish or whatever. And eventually, you start dancing nude.
Okay.
Perhaps harkening back to May's bottomless dancing days.
Hell yeah, taxi dancer coming in handy.
Damn right. So May and Ruth are dancing. They're not. Well, they're probably dancing nude as well. But they're living with all these people. All right, they're all living together, doing all these fun, wacky rituals, and everything's great. Okay. Well, all of the members' funds, because they were nude dancing in a cult and not working, their funds kind of dried up a little bit.
A little bit is an understatement, I would say.
They ran out of money again.
They were broke as shit.
Yeah. And this was not good for May and Ruth. This is when the classic negative things associated with cults began to arise. May quickly began limiting what their followers could eat, what they could consume. May's quirks were also coming out in the form of she refused to touch anyone or allow anyone to touch her.
All right.
And she again began referring to Ruth as her sister.
Okay.
And this is especially strange because she started making everybody else call her mother.
All right, she's getting a little crazy.
She's getting a little weird with the roles here.
Getting just
titles.
a little strange, a little bit strange.
Yeah. So money's tight and things are getting intense with this cult. All right, so around this time, May's mother remarries again after the death of May's stepdad, this time to a man named Blackburn. You see where the name came from.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so May asked Blackburn to sell his grocery store to fund her and Ruth's cause. Which is a pretty presumptuous thing to ask of just a new member of the family. It's like, hey, can you, sell your business so I can be in California with these fucking freaks dancing?
Yeah, why not?
I would hate that.
That's okay, though.
I guess. Let's see, yeah. So, insanely enough, he does it, and then he gives the money to May. And May and Ruth then buy a print shop to work on their scripture.
Okay.
So they say. And here's a weird, suspicious thing. May also marries her new stepbrother, Ward Blackburn.
Nice.
So, some weird Pornhub type shit going on here. More than likely, this marriage was part of the deal with Mr. Blackburn, grocery store man, because Ward was not a rich guy. He came from money, but he was not a rich guy. He reportedly smelled insane all of the time.
Cool.
He smelled crazy.
He's a quirky guy. He smells.
Insane scents coming from this guy. He was younger than May's daughter, Ruth. So he was a young-ass dude. And, he was a child molester.
Oh.
He didn't have much going for him, so I feel like that was part of the deal. Yeah. Mish is bewildered.
Yeah.
All right. So he had none of the attributes of May's past lovers.
No.
Yet another twist of romantic expectation. It's said that May was seen to have a particular draw to young women and their beauty.
Okay.
Right? So that's something. And though there was no account of her acting on all these alleged sexual proclivities, there was enough evidence to make this known and generally kind of understood by everyone around him.
All right, yeah, makes sense.
A lot of weird romantic stuff going on. Ruth, she also around this time, she began seeing a man named Sam Rizzio.
Oh, he's my favorite.
That was your favorite?
Just his
sounds
story
like a
in
baseball
general.
player.
Yeah. Just the story of this man he's the best.
He is. He was also way too young for Ruth. So Sam was raised Catholic, and he was very devout. That was his whole life. I'm a Catholic guy. That's all I have.
Mm-hmm.
So which led to many arguments between the two, right? And apparently these arguments got so heated at one point that one of them ended with Sam hitting Ruth and storming off.
Yeah,
you can't do that.
And supposedly he hit her so hard that it drew some blood. She was bleeding.
Yeah.
Her members did not like that.
Bloody Ruth, So yeah, it didn't end well, I'd say. He did end up coming back, returning shortly after, however, claiming that he was ready to convert to her and her mother's teachings.
Mm-hmm.
So he had just an immediate change of heart. Who knows what brought him back?
I love what's funny. The visualize this. So when he comes back, she's actually surrounded by a wall of her followers, in a circle. They were encircling this woman to shield her from the violent outburst of Sam.
Oh, this makes a lot more sense as to why he may have converted.
Yeah, so they're literally shielding her as if he's gonna come in and kill her.
I was just picturing this in the front room of a ranch-style house, just the two of them or something.
Yeah, I couldn't really get where this took place, but it was they were surrounding her in a sort of human shield type of type of method there.
Well, that's sweet.
Yeah.
That's real sweet, you know. Well, he returned everything. He was just like, I'm going to convert. It's going to be great. So who knows what brought him back, but when he did, Ruth told him that part of the initiation was to take part in a symbolic death ritual in which they kill his old self and in order to move forward into his new, beliefs, a new man under new teachings.
Okay.
Well, Sam agreed, and the ritual took place, and guess who was never fucking seen again?
Yeah.
Sam.
Mm-hmm.
No one knows what happened to this guy. Sam is fucking donezo. It's just gone. And, all right, so super weird about this. Ruth was reportedly seen the day prior purchasing poisonous chemicals.
Yeah.
Super weird. No way it connects.
And Sam's mother actually received a letter. And the letter, all it said was that Sam is now a high priest in the Great 11.
Oh, good for him.
And he is now invisible to less spiritual eyes.
Invisible.
And that was all it said. It was all it said.
Just no, like, to or from. It was just like, this is how it's going down.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Jesus Christ. All right, around this time, May and word of the cult. Sorry about that. Around this time, May and word of the cult got to the nephew of an extremely wealthy oil magnate named Clifford Dabney.
Oh, yeah.
That's another. He's high on the list. All right, and she convinces this guy to give her $50,000, which back then was $815,210.53.
Okay,
so it's a lot of money. All right, and she was like, I'm going to buy this land, I'm going to build houses and a temple. It's going to be great. May convinces Clifford to fork over this cash by saying that once the world ends and she is one of the remaining 11, she'll let him in on the coordinates of all of the gold on Earth, which would apparently be revealed to her upon the world's ending.
Mm-hmm.
Coordinates that I guess I heard somewhere were like carved on the bottom of the fucking Noah's Ark or something.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't even know. But anyway, he was just like, oh, that sounds amazing. I'll give you anything you want. So construction begins. She got the money. All right, all the followers are building all these cabins. They're surrounding an enormous temple, right? Inside this temple is an 800-pound throne modeled after a lion, completed with a head and paws for legs. Kind of cute.
Yeah.
All right.
That's Jesus' throne, baby.
Yeah, it is. Once the temple was completed, they sealed it up for that very reason. They're just like, Jesus is going to come down, and he's going to need a fucking place to sit.
Yeah, he's not gonna sit in like a regular chair, you know?
He's not gonna stoop to your beanbag. All right? Well, so yeah, it was Jesus' seat. So that remains closed. All right, sealed off for him. In total, around the temple, there were 12 cabins and 2 houses. One of the houses was reserved for May and Ruth, while the other was given to the Rhodes family. All right, and they had been supporters and followers of the cult since its inception, so they deserved a house. You know, the Rhodes family, they were pretty wealthy, so they funded the cult pretty well, and they had a very young adopted daughter named Willa, whom May seemed to have some sort of infatuation with. Sort of weird.
Willa.
May gave Willa the title of princess in the cult, and also gave her, here it is, 7 puppy dogs.
Oh yeah, bring it on.
We got the 7 puppy dogs. Sadly, Willa died very young, all right, so she wasn't around very long, due to an infected abscess in her mouth. And but this does not discourage May, right? She told the Rhodes family that everything was going to be fine because, once the 7th seal opens, all the followers of the cult, they're going to come back to life.
Yeah, so everything's going to be good.
All the Rhodes family's got to do is preserve the body, and all would be fine. All right? So the family, they take Willa's body, they put it in a tub, pack it with hundreds of pounds of ice and preserving chemicals, and basically just keep that up as long as they can.
Yeah. It's really
It's
simple.
as simple as that.
It's-
That's what's the place we talked about? Alcor or some shit?
Oh, yeah, the cryogenic place.
Yeah,
Or
that's what they do.
cryonics or whatever.
Cryo core. I don't know. It was something core, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's Alcor. You had the
Alcor.
name right.
All right. Well, so let's see. A detail about this situation. They're just, all right. Our daughter's body is on ice. It's good. We'll just refill it with ice every now and again. A detail about this situation that's worth knowing. The Rhodes family kind of moved around a lot, and they couldn't very well leave Willa unsupervised.
No.
All right. So when they traveled, they propped her up in the car and just drove her wherever they needed to go and promptly put her on ice once they got there.
Makes sense.
It's a traveling corpse.
Weekend at Willa's.
I'd watch it. Insane. All right. So, well, after doing this for a while, the Rhodes family began to think, like, hey, maybe this isn't, like, the correct thing to do with our dead daughter's remains.
Why not?
I don't know, man. They all I know is they asked May's permission to bury their daughter, to which May said, like, yeah, sure, like, go ahead. So the Rhodes family, they get this copper-lined coffin, all right? They put Willa inside, pack it again with ice, and they bury her underneath her parents' bedroom floor, surrounded by, here it is again, the bodies of the 7 dogs gifted to her by May that are believed to have been sacrificed because May and Ruth were known to include the occasional animal sacrifice in their rituals.
Yes. Yeah. This whole fucking situation is kind of bad shit right now.
It's a little over the top, I'd say.
I'm gonna ask a question because I don't know. I don't know if I heard it or not. Did we talk about how Willa died?
She got like an infected something in her mouth, and it was turned into an abscess.
It was quite literally just a toothache that
Yeah.
got infected, and that's how she died. Which I think is insane. It's not like she had some crazy thing. It was just a fucking toothache that
Yeah, man.
she died from.
Shit in your face, getting infected, going right down to the heart. Come on.
Yeah, it's no bueno. No bueno.
No bueno at all. But, so yeah, they're sacrificing animals. All right, the 7 dogs are dead. They're scattered about all around her coffin. So we're in 1928 now. Okay, all right. And a woman is brought to the Divine Order of the Royal Arms of the Great 11 by her sister. All right, so this woman's name is Frances Turner. Again, great name.
There's a good name.
It's a good name, solid. So she was paralyzed, and she was also nonverbal, so she couldn't move or speak. That's awful. And her sister brought her to May and Ruth, looking for just some sort of miracle cure, like to help her sister back to her old self. Because I guess this was not how she always was.
No, probably not.
Yeah, so now this cult had a bunch of large freezers as well as ovens for the supposed preservation of their followers upon the 7th seal opening. So what May does here, she tells this woman that if she puts her paralyzed sister into their oven, it will purify and restore her body through the grace of God.
Yep. It doesn't.
No. So the woman agrees, and they leave Frances in the oven for 2 fucking days.
Mm-hmm.
2 days. It's insane. How long do you think it took till she died? Like
5 minutes.
5 minutes?
If it's hot enough, 5 minutes.
What temperature do you think this is at? Is it a cool 350?
If it's at 350,
That's a bacon
she's dead
temp
in like
right there.
3 minutes.
Right.
And you know what's fucked up about this?
I have no concept of how long people can be in an oven.
No, me
Like-
neither. This is not the last time they use the fucking oven, because after this experiment fails, somebody that just has pretty much what we would call the common cold is put in there to get cured, and they're only in there for a few hours, and they were dead as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
They really wanted to use these ovens. I feel like it was just an impulse buy, and they're like, we have to incorporate this somehow, or else we're going to look like idiots.
Yeah, it's like when you're at the grocery store and you buy some food that like looks good, and you take it home. You're like, I don't really want it, but I paid for it, so I'm like gonna eat it. And you're not happy about it, but you're like,
It's like, all right, well, we're going to get our mileage out of this. it kills us.
Yeah, essentially, they're like, fuck it. Just start throwing shit in the oven, Let's see what happens. It's good for food, right?
Yeah.
That'd be good for us.
Yeah. So Frances, she was fucking cooked, all right, literally. And when the woman asked May, the Frances's sister, when she asked May why it didn't work, May just told her it must not have been a part of God's plan, because if it was, he would have restored her.
Yeah, pretty much.
So this draws a little attention, right? Like, which makes sense. Word starts getting around to people, and they start thinking, hey, where'd all these people go? Because there's a couple dead bodies under these people's belts.
Mm-hmm. A few.
Yeah. And at the same time, Clifford Dabney, he's starting to realize how insane it was of him to give these people a small fortune in order to get the location of the world's gold after everyone dies.
You gotta be dead first.
So he calls the police. He just calls the police. And the police are kind of bewildered, to say the least. Just by the story. I mean, like, it's the 1920s, and this would be something insane now.
Oh, yeah.
And this just plops on their desk back then.
Yeah, it's like, shit.
Like, I've never even conceived of anything like this. All right, so the police go out to Blackburn, the cult, their community. And they end up arresting May for fraud against Dabney. All right, fraud charges is all it is. While there, the police also took a look around the Rhodes family abode as well, where they quickly discovered the batshit insane situation that was underneath the bedroom floorboards.
Oh, yeah.
All right. But once an autopsy was done, it was found that Willa indeed died of natural causes, and the bodies of Sam and Frances, they just disappeared. No one ever saw those things again.
Yeah, no one knew anything about those other than just they disappeared.
Pretty much. So May just could not be charged for murder, right? So she does go to prison, though, right? So it's she's in charge. No, she's in the charge. She's charged for defrauding $200,000, which is $3,260,842.11 and she's found guilty on 8 counts of grand theft. All right, so she goes to prison, but just for a year, because she manages to successfully appeal the case.
Yes, she does.
Interesting. The case went to the California Supreme Court. They ruled that the money was freely given to May, and religious freedom made it almost impossible for the justice system to get involved.
There you go. There's your answer.
So there you go. So May's free, and she went back to running the cult with Ruth. But expectedly, a lot of the followers that they'd accrued, they became kind of disillusioned with the whole thing, and they dipped.
Yeah, for the most part, because even the initial claims of fraud and stuff, there were actually cult members that were joining in on that, saying that they were trying to get involved in that.
Yeah.
So she had lost people before this, and then coming back, she just couldn't retain that mother status, I guess.
Yeah. So May, Ruth, and the few remaining, followers that they had, they all moved to Lake Tahoe. Isn't that fun?
How nice.
That sounds nice. But that's where May published a book called The Origin of God in 1936.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. Oh, and the book that May and Ruth were supposedly tasked with writing by the archangels Gabriel and Michael, that was never published.
No, and it's funny because I actually have a quote here, and this was from a member that had read some of the early drafts. They were working with them to kind of like piece it together.
Yeah.
And this is the report, quote, "The most astounding, bewildering hodgepodge of biblical and mythological references. It makes zero sense," end quote.
It's just like fucking Dianetics.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that was also like a big no-no for like most of the followers. Because like I'm sure they fucking they approached ones maybe with like writing backgrounds. They're like, "Can you help us?"
Yeah, like insiders.
But yeah, but for the most part, it was like forbidden to even look at the text before it was done.
I mean, as far as any information that's available today, it seems that there were only May and Ruth were the ones that actually knew what it was, and there may have been one other person that read certain, even just maybe a page or two of a draft.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about the extent of people that got to see it.
Yeah. But she put out this Origin of God book. That was in 36. And, but other than published in this book, she was never really heard from again until her death in 1951.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
And that book really didn't do much. It didn't like sell very well or anything like that. No one really cared about it. So
it's thought-provoking. It was probably just burned by the Catholics, huh?
Yeah, honestly.
That seems like a book-burning kindling. Right
it does. It seems like the perfect book to burn.
Yeah. Well, Ruth, May's daughter, she went on to publish multiple books, actually, in kind of in the same vein as her mother's past publication, until her death in 1978. So they're dead.
How about that?
I don't think the cult's still around anymore, but that's the Blackburn cult.
No, yeah, and I mean, the cult itself sort of died when she went to prison.
Yeah, I mean, the few remaining followers that they had, it's like I have a feeling it was kind of just like a mutual living situation at that point afterward.
Yeah.
You know?
So at the end of the day, there's a few conflicting reports, but the body count, at least that the cult was not necessarily directly responsible for, but was responsible for nonetheless.
But they were found out about.
Yes.
After the cult, yeah.
At the very minimum, we're looking at 4, and at the very maximum, we're looking at 6 or possibly 7. That's just what the reports have. There could be more, there could be less. No one really truly knows.
Yeah, I mean, really, like Ruth, like killing that dude that hit her. It's like, yeah, I can see that. That's cool.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to go back to that for a minute.
Yeah, but the ovens, I just don't get the ovens.
Yeah, the ovens are weird. So Frank Rizzio, what's interesting about him is this is kind of what initially started to rock the boat for the Great 11.
Was it
whatever?
Sam Rizzio?
Well, Frank is his brother.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So Sam disappears, and then his younger brother Frank. I should have led with that because they have
no. It's like
name,
wait a
Like,
minute.
what? So Frank Rizzio, he was very suspect. Okay, he was like, "What the fuck's going on?" So he actually sort of infiltrated the Great 11 for a few days.
It's pretty cool.
And he actually hired May, or he got May to hire him as her personal chauffeur. So he was kind of on the inside, okay?
You can hear some crazy conversations being a driver.
Yeah, and after just a couple of days, Frank had found his brother's clothes and a suitcase. And he brought these to May and was like, yo, what the fuck? And pretty much her response was like, oh, well, maybe he's going to be coming back soon. Like, I don't know. I don't know what that is.
That's your answer to everything, May.
So the family got involved. So this was, the Rizzio family was like, we got to figure something out here, okay? But what happened, this started to kind of bring some pressure onto May. However, she got real lucky here because they had some criminal background in the Rizzio family.
They always lean on that. Yeah.
So Sam, the one who disappeared, he was in juvenile hall for 9 months previously for altering checks.
For beating up women for Christ.
Mm-hmm. And his father had actually been on the lam, and he was wanted for a triple homicide in Chicago.
That's just what you do in Chicago.
Yeah. So that really kind of led them to back off because, then that would have brought everything back to light.
No, yeah, that makes sense.
And so she really just caught a good break there with who it was. But so with that, Frank kind of gave up and was just like, well, he's probably fucking dead. And that was the end of that story for them.
But then they started putting people in fucking ovens.
Yeah, they did.
Still, to purify them?
I don't know.
For 2 days?
I don't know. I really
2
don't
days.
know.
That's insane.
But yeah, I mean, so at the end of the day, this is not the weirdest cult, I think, in the world, but it's...
No, but it is, like, interesting that it was at that point in time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It really kind of was able to flourish because of the interest of gold. Women were a little bit more free with themselves around this time, like maybe against the societal norm.
It was the Roaring 20s, dude. Anything went.
Right.
Bottomless dancing.
And that led to
gold.
May being a little bit more desirable, I think. and that really kind of sold this whole thing together, you know?
Yeah, no, you're right.
It was quite the package deal for the people that were interested.
Super weird that like her daughter was just there as well. Like she just brought her with her. Because Ruth didn't seem to do anything really. She was just like held at equal esteem, and they always kind of acted like they were sisters, which is it makes sense because like May said that she was her sister for so long, lying to a bunch of dudes. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I feel like Ruth is just an afterthought in this story, and maybe her mom did get what she wanted in making her a star because we're talking about her, and it was like 100 years ago.
Yeah, and I mean, really, Ruth kind of got away with a lot. Initially, they were going to try her with her mother, but then it was like there was just no evidence to support that she was involved past, just being
it's like
present.
May's the trigger puller, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so they dropped all those charges on Ruth, and we're just like, we're going to focus on the one we can get right here. But yeah, it's weird because it's not your typical cult, I mean, there's really not a whole lot of belief. I mean, if you're going to compare this to like a Jonestown or a Heaven's Gate.
What do you mean belief?
Well,
because it was all based around like Catholic ideas, just a rearranging of them. Like it's kind of like Mormonism in that way. It was like they were writing the secret book that you couldn't read ever. It's like, oh, it sounds a lot like that book that what is his name?
Joseph Smith
found that only he could read. It's like,
Yeah, well, like what I'm saying is there's a common belief threaded throughout every member of this group, but it's not something like I think of like Jonestown where they would have, their mass or their church all the time. This was a lot more it was about the end game. It wasn't so much about the day-to-day. Yeah,
it's more just like, can't wait for that seventh seal, huh? High five.
Yeah, May wasn't out there preaching to them every day at a specific time. Like, this is what we're gonna do. It was about what knowledge she had and when it was gonna come out.
Yeah.
So it was more of this weird, followers is a good word, but it's more so hope for the future instead of the present.
Yeah,
that makes
which
sense.
Is interesting to me because I'm sure she found a way around it in like what she would preach and that kind of thing. But there's only gonna be 11 people alive.
Yeah, exactly.
And Ruth and May are two of them.
Yeah,
and
your
they
odds
had
are down.
Way more than 9 followers.
Yeah, so
I don't know.
The whole thing, it's a little strange, but it definitely. I'm glad it was brought to our attention because I enjoyed it.
Shawnee, thank you for the suggestion. We keep them coming. Anyone who wants to give us suggestions, just email us, startacult@gmail.com, message us through Instagram.
Yeah, let us
however
know.
You get a hold of us.
Let us know what's going on. But yeah, it
badass.
It was an interesting topic, and I liked it. I liked going back to it. It was good.
Yeah. Still, we have not done enough cults to warrant our name, but I don't think we ever can now.
Yeah, probably not. It's, the percentage will never be high enough. No. But the cults are interesting in that aspect, I will say, because it's kind of a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's other cults that, like I said, I think way earlier in the episode, I couldn't get a lot of details on a lot of parts of this story.
Yeah. Well,
just the basic outline is pretty insane. But, yeah, there's so many more cults that are more in the mainstream, I guess. That people know about, so they delve deeper into it. There's an insane amount of information about it. I wouldn't mind doing one of those one day.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But this was a cool place to get that thought from.
To hang our little hats on.
My little hat's hanging here.
But I would say that is effectively our episode for the week.
Yeah,
that's what I would say.
Yeah, I'd say it is.
I'm very grateful that you guys stuck around to check it out. I think it was a fun little foray into something that we don't cover super often.
More dead dogs than usual in this episode.
I think more than any other episode we've done.
I mean, serial kill. Yeah, they're usually going after cats, aren't they?
Literally, the only one that I can think of is Ruby Ridge and poor little Stryker.
Oh, Stryker's demise, dude. Yep. Go listen to that episode. That was one of my favorites.
Poor little Stryker did not make it out of that story alive.
But also, neither did Randy Weaver's wife.
No.
I mean, this kind of proves your point. We should warn people about dead dogs.
But yeah, definitely we'll be back next week with a hot new episode for you guys.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed it. And if you like the cult-themed episodes, it's something we could do more of. We probably shouldn't anyway, because we don't really do it as often.
Who the fuck knows, man?
But yeah, so we will be back, and I love you. Goodbye.
Good. No, yeah. You follow us and all the shit. As we are starting a cult, it's Random Jake on all the shit. You should follow us. Startacult@gmail.com. We got that. That's the email. Send us whatever. And then also we are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and YouTube. You can like and subscribe there and comment. Reading the comments is the best part.
Yes.
And also, there's a link for fucking Patreon down below where you get bi-weekly episodes from me and Grant just talking about whatever the fuck.
Yeah, pretty
All
much.
right. And Mitch was in the room, and Navi was outside. He's being a little good boy. He's not barking or anything. But yeah, Mitch was in the room. It's Grant. I'm Jake. We are starting a cult. Goodbye.
Bye.